Hey, everybody. I'm not a scientist, and so that's not my background. So I'll talk about something, thank you, completely different, from a completely different perspective. I'm an evil business person, and I help people connect all over the world. And for me, I think that the meaning of life is about connection, and it's about the evolution of humanity. But when we feel our most base human instinct, what we're really feeling is that separation from people or the loneliness. And when we're feeling the most connected with that universal life force or spirit, and we're really in flow, that's when we channel our moments of greatest creativity and greatest life force, which ultimately contribute to the greater goodness and the meaning of life. So in my mind, that's when we have moments of contributing to art or creating the next stage of taking human evolution into our own hands, or whatever it is that we're working on in life. So to me, the meaning of life is really about getting connected to the life force and to each other, and to build on what we've learned from the other people who have come before us. And things that are really inspiring to me is that we are contributing to the evolution of humanity. So, for example, 100 years ago, it was probably like 90% of people lived in extreme poverty. 20 years ago, that was down to 20% living in extreme poverty. Now it's like 8% of people living in extreme poverty, and by 2030, the goal is to almost eliminate extreme poverty altogether. So our activities that we contribute to when we're really in flow and connecting with other people do indeed contribute to the evolution of humanity, and that is the meaning of life. So the more we can get into flow and connect with universal life force, the faster that happens for all of us.
The life force that you mentioned?
Universal life force?
Talk more about the universal life force.
Okay. So when I think about what universal life force looks like, I think of the movie Avatar. Yeah, and like how, I don't know, what do you want me to say about it?
How do you imagine it in our everyday life?
Okay, so I think universal life force is, like, you can feel it sometimes, but that the spark of it that each of us carry is like, we are the only version of ourselves who ever gets to live that life force. And so that is why living to your maximum potential, and you can feel your maximum potential when you feel the life force flowing through you. So Nolis and I had a conversation about this recently. And when I think that when you've reached the end point or a transition point in your career and you feel like, oh, I don't like going to work anymore, I don't like my job, I'm demotivated. It sucks to be in that, but that's like your intuition telling you that you're not living up to your maximum potential. And when you're in the exact right place in your life, or you're in a great relationship, or you're at the beginning of a new relationship, you know that that's like life force guiding you in the direction that you need to go to contribute to the maximum meaning of life, not only for you, but for everyone around you and all the people that you're connected to and the people who come after us. So that is kind of how I view it. Yeah, thank you.
So this, I love this, and I believe in my own sort of energy, your own energy, not ours. But Mexicans and Greek are cousins, so we're good. So does this energy of life, however you refer to it, does it also evolve? Because we're clear that biology, life evolves. And at some point there was if we think that this energy of life is attached to everything living, I'm going on your avatar description, then as life evolved and changed and became more complicated, from unicellular organisms to multicellular organisms to blah, 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 now, does this energy of life also evolve? Does it become a more complicated, comprehensive, fuller energy?
Yes, exactly. And so, actually, I think this is a very exciting time to be alive because, and this goes back to my work not really being evil, because I think when people connect across communities and cultures and barriers and boundaries, and we can see, last week I was in the Middle East, and this morning I was doing a conference call with a woman in Saudi Arabia. 20 years ago, that would not have possibly happened. And so this is that universal life force energy and our connections of people, and I do think it evolves much more quickly. So we have to wonder, how were the pyramids built in multiple continents and this type of thing millennia ago? And now we know that, people are exchanging ideas around the globe so quickly. So I do think that that universal life force energy and human consciousness energy is getting more and more unified in a way that's incredibly exciting, and that does evolve into a faster life pace and energy of its own. But that's obviously, I'm curious what the scientists in the room think.
I'm not going to speak as a scientist, unfortunately. I'm going to speak as a, 10-year-old asking his mom about. Basically, what I want to bring in is a little bit of a challenge to this notion of the universal life form evolving in a linear temporal fashion. So when I was around 10, I was basically wondering about, and I said, Mom, it's a little weird that God would have to wait for bacteria to eventually, evolve into multicellular eukaryotes and, dinosaurs to be evolved for humans to finally come around and honor him. What's the point? And her reaction blew my mind, and it goes against this concept of a linear time. And she basically said, Manoli, God is experiencing all of space and time simultaneously. At the same time as humans are honoring him now, dinosaurs are being extinct to give place to these humans and so on and so forth. In other words, we should embrace the concept that this universal life force might actually not experience time the same way that we as measly human beings experience time. Again, not speaking as a scientist. All right. So next up, thank you, Nicole. And I have